Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick and I'm reporting today from what's really an underground cavern with a ping pong club in it. It's called Bounce. We're in London and we are at the Metaswitch Connect London event, and I am talking with Jenkins, who has been both on the vendor side of the telco community and has worked for a tier 1 operator. So you've seen the deal from both sides, Ian. So,
yes, I certainly have, both in the UK and overseas markets as well.
Well, I want to plumb some of the depth of your knowledge here by asking you something about NFV, which of course is what Metaswitch is about and what this event is largely about. Just rolling up behind us at the moment, you may be able to hear it, and our viewers may be able to hear it, is the Central Line underground train, which runs directly under the floor here, which just adds to the difficulties of doing an interview under these circumstances, but we shall persevere. Look, Ian, to begin with, what do you think that NFV means for network operators?
I think it offers them a great opportunity. Network operators are under a lot of pressure, traditional network operators, even mobile operators, who've seen their revenue ARPUs grow and grow, and now they're rolling over, and of course the fixed line revenues have been declining for some time, and it's a real strain on how do I get costs out of the business, how do I provide new services cheaply, how do I maintain my margins. And NFV offers the opportunity of getting their business onto a completely different cost basis.
Okay, good, thank you. Now, that's one side of it, that's the network operator side. Another side, which is sometimes under these sort of circumstances forgotten about to some extent, is the vendors and the equipment providers. Now, they're the ones who are producing the kit that makes this work, even though it's all based on software rather than hardware. How are they adjusting to this new technology?
Well, some of them who've relied on selling an appliance-based business model are struggling and trying to catch up, and they see the inevitability coming, I think. Some things are always going to have a hardware specialist component to them, but more and more we're seeing software being able to take over areas that people have not thought of in the past. So, Cloud RAN, for example. So it seems to be an inevitable march into all areas of telecom vendors. What that does do is for people who can have the right software development capability, it does mean that they don't have all the hardware investment part to look after, and that they can move and make things scalable much more easily, and they don't have to build that in at the base level, so they should be able to be more agile as well.
Now, you're an independent consultant these days, and there's a lot of talk in the industry about innovation and driving innovation and making an innovation part of the entire process of every organisation, whether it be a network operator or an equipment provider. How is that innovation managed? Is it possible to manage constant innovation, to provoke constant innovation?
I think you can provide the environment that gets a culture of innovation, allows it to happen. I don't think it's something that you can put into a process that allows it to move forward. So it's a case of people being able to explore within boundaries, but to be able to explore and test, and at various stages to bring that testing and try it with their peers and move it forward and see how that innovation then affects directly into the business environment they're trying to put it. So that's the test that can be done at various stages along the innovative path, from the beginning, which is the wild idea, through to eventually the business case.
Sure, okay, thank you. Now, let's talk about something which is contentious, certainly as far as network operators are concerned, which is the vendors are selling products and the equipment providers are selling products, and they could use themselves to make themselves network operators. Isn't that upsetting the apple cart somewhat?
Well, it is happening. There are a number of companies out there, particularly in call control, hosted PBX, Universal Comms, that were traditional vendors into both the CPE, enterprise market and the telco market, and they have set up and run their own hosted services with their own products. So they're eating their own dog food, and they're providing it out there. Some are providing it just for telcos and service providers. Some are starting to move into playing in an enterprise space directly. So, it's competing with the telcos, they're becoming telcos themselves. I think the advantage for the vendors is that they can get their products out there and prove it. And they can prove a market and prove their conviction and get return on their investment. There are advantages to the service provider as well, in that they can test markets in their own, where they have their own channels, where they have their own marketing teams. They can quickly and cost effectively get services up and running, and if those turn out to be real big winners, then they can migrate them onto their own private cloud in-house.
Thank you. Final question to you. With the changes as NFV and SDN and virtualization are bringing to the networks around the world, that's one massive change, once in a generation or perhaps once in a century kind of change that's coming upon us. And that's difficult enough to manage on its own and to effect upon its own, but there's also other impediments to doing so within organisations themselves. For example, within the structure of the organisation, with the psychology of the organisation, people worried for the jobs, the posts that they used to have, how things are going to change and so on. How is that affecting NFV?
I think there are structural barriers within service providers. There are skills that people don't have necessarily or are frightened about acquiring. There are support issues. Service providers often like to have some appliance or box-based solution because they've got a clear demarcation around that to who owns the problem when it goes wrong. So they can easily tie that to a support contract. When it goes to NFV, where you have your infrastructure from someone else, and that's operated by your own people, and the people who run the NFV applications or the network applications maybe another set of people, because they've got different skills and knowledge as well. So how do you move into this parallel, multi-skilled operational organisation is an issue for a lot of telcos in working that one out.
Well, we're going to see it shake out over the coming months and years, Ian, but really fascinating stuff. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.